I'm willing to bet that most people that have seen my videos have heard me say at least once that lead makes dirty black powder. Now, there's a pretty simple reason for that. One is because the nature of ball mills is that you're going to get some contaminant in your powder. It's just the way it works. Two, lead reacts poorly with the black powder. Lead being very soft lead having a Brinell count of around 5, is a good milling media because it's so dense. It's very heavy. It's also exceptionally cheap given other good options for milling media. But again, the issue is being very soft. As it's in there milling and churning around, it's rubbing on other pieces of lead media, making microscopic little particles of lead mixing into your powder. When it burns, being that lead has such a low melting point in the barrel of your firearm, and again, we're talking about sporting grade powder. You pyrotechnic folks that do fireworks stuff, I know this doesn't really apply to you guys. So lead having a very low melting point, when it is burned and ignited in the barrel, that microscopic particles of lead bond with the sulfides and a lot of the other leftover fouling and melts and coats your barrel with burned up lead fouling and other stuff. That's why lead makes dirty black powder. Now, there's a whole debate you could have about using a very hard lead alloy, and I know a lot of folks do that, but you're still going to get lead particles in your powder. Even a very hard lead alloy like linotype that has a Brinell number of 25 or even close to 30, while being much harder than soft lead, is still going to get lead contaminant in your powder. Now, most of my regulars know that I prefer brass. We switched to brass a couple years ago and haven't looked back. That's what we prefer. What we did for this is made up 2 batches of powder. Both are using alder buckthorn charcoal at a ratio of 77-13-10. That's 77% potassium nitrate, 13% charcoal, and 10% sulfur. Both were milled in the old PVC mill containers, which we used for a long time and worked pretty well, for 48 hours. The only difference between these 2 powders is one, we use our standard brass media, and the other, we use the old media that we used when we were still heathens and were using lead, which are wheel weights or round balls cast from wheel weights. Now, about the hardness of both of these milling medias, depending on what source you see on the interweb, water-quenched wheel weights, which are round balls were water-quenched, can have a hardness anywhere from 8 to 12. It kind of depends. They are harder than pure soft lead, which has a hardness count of a Brinell count of about 5. So still pretty soft compared to lead, but this is what we used for a while, and we had decent results. The trouble that we had was making clean powder. We could make powder that was powerful. It was making it that was clean that was the problem. The brass, again, depending on what you're looking at, can have a Brinell count of as low as 60 all the way up to 130. Now, the brass media that I bought was from McMaster Carr, and they say it has a hardness of B75, a Rockwell count of B75. I did just punch it into Google to see if it would give me a conversion number to Brinell, and there it is. I'm not sure if that's accurate or not, because brass, being an alloy, is made of copper and zinc. So depending on what the ratio of that is, I suppose it could be harder or softer. Whatever the B75 is what this is. Just to give you a visual representation of the hardness that we're dealing with, let me show you this. So to give you a visual aid on the hardness aspect, I have a piece of brass media, and lead media. This is cast out of wheel weights. This is a 6.0, or at least it started life as a .600. and this is 0.5. So we're going to put that right there. We're going to take our favorite hammer.
Dang.
I want to try and make sure it's the same size for both of them. So as you can see, that smashed out of that. Now let's try it with our brass media. As you can see, not nearly the amount of deformation with the brass as the lead. So I think that's a pretty good visual representation of the hardness that we're dealing with between both the brass and the lead. So for this test, we're using two firearms. The revolver is a Uberti Remington New Model Army using 25 grains of powder and a 4.54 round ball. We were using 4.54s then. I've since switched to 4.57s, but these you're going to see are 4.54s. The rifle is my Kibler Southern Mountain rifle, 45 caliber, using 50 grains, a 20 thousandths patch, and a 4.40 swaged ball. And each shot is primed with the same powder it is charged with. So here is the lead versus brass media. So here is our alder buckthorn powder. This stuff was milled with the brass media. Now, if my calculations are correct, we've already chronographed this stuff on other times. It should be in the 900s, low 900s. But let's see. 947.
All right.
931. 939. 969. 937. 934. And that's rolling just fine.
High nines.
So that averaged 943.
All right.
Bitchin'.
High nines.
Well, mid nines.
Sorry, low nines.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think the last time when we were out last time, I think it was 933 or 934.
Something like that, yeah.
So perfect.
Right where
exactly what I'd expect.
Right where it should be.
Now let me clean this thing and we'll try the lead.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got it all assembled and ready to go with our alder buckthorn milled with lead. 25 grains in a 4.54 round ball. Here we go. 852. 861. 824. Already getting hard to cock. 828.
Yep.
844. 828. And it is, I gotta help it.
And we lost 100 feet per second.
And we lost 100 feet per second. And look how gross it is. But
Hideous.
I can't even cock it. Now again, I clean it after every 6 shots. I take it apart and clean it. And I know there's a bunch of people that say like, oh, you need to lube it. You need to grease the thing. I don't do that intentionally for this kind of test. So I get a gauge on how clean it is or isn't. In which, this case, that's f***ing filthy. 839.9. So that was a solid 100 feet per second loss.
Yeah. Junk.
So to further illustrate my point, I'll say it again. I clean it after every 6 shots. I take it apart, wipe it all off. That was 6 shots with the lead powder. I can't even get the base pin out. I'm going to have to tap it out, which isn't the end of the world. But again, it just shows how dirty it is.
Like proper mechanics.
Keep going. There we go. It doesn't count unless you smash my fingers. You know the rules.
Yeah, I know.
Look at all that on the base pin. Can you see all that?
Huh. Oh, yeah. God, that is hideous.
And I just cleaned it. If this was powder that wasn't lead, I should be able to get at least 12 more shots through it before I start to struggle to pull the pin out of it.
Jesus, is that the third one?
This is the second
one. Still horrible.
Yeah, this is why when I hear people say like, "Oh, well, I use lead and it burns pretty clean."
Yeah, it's just as good.
Yeah, sorry. What do you kids say nowadays? Press X to doubt.
Cap.
Cap. Cap. Okay.
Cap.
Boy, that's poor thing. It didn't deserve that at all.
Yeah. Well, and the main thing when it comes to you're not using hard enough lead, the hardest of lead alloys is still like, what, 60% lead? And it's a 15 on the Brunel hardness scale.
No, you could get like linotype, or I think menotype, and it's like 22 or 25.
Yeah, and soft brass starts at 70.
Yeah.
So,
and the stuff we use, according to McMaster Carr,
is like
120, 130.
Yeah, 124 or
something
125.
Like so even if you use a 1-to-1 lead tin or something, you're still only going to be at best, what, 30, 35? And you're still going to end up with lead, and lead reacts poorly.
Yeah.
Poor thing. I shouldn't feel bad for it because at the end of the day, it's still just a Remington, but... Well, now I got to do the same thing to my poor rifle.
Oh, no.
Okay, so here is our alder buckthorn powder milled with brass media. Now, you guys have already seen this stuff. And it should be right about 18, low 18s. But we'll just see. $18.55.
Okay.
Here's shot number 2 with the alder buckthorn. $18.16.
Right about where it was last time.
All right. Shot number 3 with the brass milled alder buckthorn. $18.38. Need to be running a little bit faster this time, just a tad.
I think so.
But that's okay. It's pretty common to see a 20 or 30 feet per second swing.
Depending. Yeah.
Ambient temperature, barometric pressure.
All that.
Okay. Last shot with the brass milled alder buckthorn. $18.16. So that averaged 18.31. So yeah, about 20 feet per second faster than we saw the last time we had it out, but that's okay. That's not out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That looks pretty damn
Pretty
good.
damn good. Pretty damn good. I'd say that's right on par as usual.
Yep.
Might be a tad bit more sooty, but no, not really.
Yeah, I wouldn't say so.
Yeah. So I would call that just about the same as usual.
Yep.
Here's our lead milled alder buckthorn.
Lead milled nastiness.
Well, it sure was nasty on that poor Remington. I don't usually feel bad for Remingtons, but I felt bad for that one. All right, let's go.
Here it goes.
Okay, so here is shot number 1 with our alder buckthorn powder milled with lead media. Boo! All right, we're shooting at the middle square. $17.85. That hung a little bit. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
Now, as soon as I go to seat that ball, that's when it'll be noticeable.
Yeah. That's when the cuss words, the compound cussing starts.
Ready? Here it goes.
Yes, sir.
Yuck.
What is that red shit?
I don't know. Isn't that interesting?
Whoa, whoa, bring that over. I want to see that.
I don't usually see that.
Whoa.
Okay, so that last one was $17.85. A little bit more powerful than I was expecting.
Yeah.
Based on how wimpy the
It wasn't
revolver was.
Yeah, it's not 150 feet slower than
No.
the brass.
All right, so here's shot number 2 with the lead media. Oh, and it hangs. 1769.9.
Oh.
Did my flint go flying by your head again?
Broke for good this time.
Oh, no!
Finally broke for good.
Oh, that's tragic. Well, I got plenty more of them.
Where are they?
They're in my bag here.
Oh, you got them.
I got them. That's all right, boss. Could happen to anybody.
Happens to everybody.
Well, it sure as hell happens to me.
Oh, look. Found a 30 carbine.
Oh, good. You want to arm wrestle over that, or? Here's where it's going to get ugly, I bet.
Oh, God.
Ugh, yuck.
Yeah, them woods boys say it's fine.
Most people say it's fine. Hey, where's your flint? Okay, so that last one was 1769.9. Boy, this stuff is yuck.
Yeah, it's nasty.
So here's shot number 3 with the lead mill. I yanked that one.
1827, you see.
1827. I yanked that one. It's going to be off to the left, I'm sure of it.
Okay.
So.
What I find more interesting is the 1800 shot.
I said before, I don't know if you had the camera rolling, that
yeah.
I wonder after it gets harder to load if the velocity's going to
It might.
climb up.
Long starter.
I might need one. Oh, Lordy.
Whoa.
Jeez.
Crunchy shit, bro.
Yuck. Okay, that last one was 1827. So here's the last shot with our lead powder. Thank God. And it hangs. 1807. So that stuff averaged 1797 with a max spread of 57.8. Not exactly terrible performance as far as velocity and consistency goes. I don't know about where it hit, and I can certainly tell you it is fucking filthy. So,
well, let's confirm.
Let's see that part.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Whoa.
I don't know if I'm afraid if I push that down, I'm not gonna be able to pull it up.
Whoa. Okay, so what is that? Halfway down the barrel you got? Oh, jeez. Let's see that.
Yeah. And that's just one pass down.
Oh my God.
And you could scrape this junk off of here. But it's filthy. It is filthy. I didn't want to push it all the way down without pulling it up a little bit because I was afraid I was going to get it stuck.
That is disgusting.
Yeah. You could see the chunks that it's pulling up out of there. And this is something that we struggled with for a long time, was how come our homemade powder is absolutely filthy? And the moral of the story, after a whole bunch of years and a whole bunch of tests and all kinds of stuff, is lead makes dirty powder.
Yeah.
That is gross. That's one patch. It's going to take at least 2 more. Let me grab another one.
That is, yeah, man. I remember making powder like this.
Actually, I think we've had worse lead powder than this.
Oh yeah.
This is probably on the better end of things.
Yeah.
As far as the lead contaminant is concerned. Yeah.
Oh man. Yep.
I'm having flashbacks, Derek.
Yeah. It's reminding me of that creosote shit.
Oh yeah, that was extra bad. Because we had a horribly filthy carbon source and we were using lead.
Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah. So here's 2 patches in. It's gonna need at least one more. But yeah, this is
4 shots, man.
This is why I don't like lead. It makes filthy powder. And I mean, even look at this. Look at how dirty that is.
Yeah, that
red stuff coming out of the touch hole.
That blows me away.
That's nasty. If you're using good, high quality powder, it should be all white around there. It should be all white.
That blows me away.
I need another patch.
You do.
That's okay. It's just twisted. It'll come out of there. Yeah, this still is coming out looking filthy. Just filthy.
God.
Awful. Horrible, I say. And I'm sure there's, going to be people out there that say, well, I use a spit patch, so it doesn't bother me. Well, okay, but what if you're using a cap and ball revolver? Or what if you're using paper cartridges in a musket or something, That's fine if you use a... that is awful. Jeez. This is patch number 3. Can I have another one of these, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, you could use the Dawn dish soap patch trick.
Yeah, that's
I imagine that would work. But, thank you. But still, man, it's
nasty.
The performance, first off, is not as good as you get with brass.
Yeah.
And the fouling is... How many times worse is this? I don't know.
Orders of magnitude.
Orders of magnitude. Thank you. That's the phrase I was looking for. Orders of magnitude. The fouling is orders of magnitude worse. This is still coming out filthy. Now I'm just mad. Now I'm just mad. See, I had to do this
For years.
Oh my God. Can I have another one, please?
Jeez.
Can I have another one? Is it patch number 4, I think, right? But who's counting?
Yes, I believe that is patch number 4. Maddening.
It's absurd. Way out of line. And even if you wanted to give me some story like, oh well, it makes faster powder. No, it does not. It most certainly does not. And even if it is a little bit faster, if you out there on the interweb do get a little bit faster than using brass, is it worth all of this? Is this worth it? Because I can tell you it ain't worth it to me. My poor rifle. Well, I dropped it in the dirt, so it's got some dirt on there, but it still is not coming out even
junk, dude.
Not even remotely clean.
Man, I forgot how dirty it was.
Yeah, so did I. I think I blocked it out of my memory.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Still? Dude.
Patch number 5.
I believe so. All this stuff. This is... This.
It's starting to feel considerably less crunchy now.
Barrel blaster.
And even if I use a really hard lead, I use linotype or something. Yeah, okay, so you only have to use 3 cleaning patches instead of 6. Intolerable, I say. Way out of line. I need a freaking hose. I need soap and water, man.
It's time to go back home and clean the gun.
Jeez. It's just now starting to look like it's getting cleaner.
Yeah, just now.
Absurd. Yeah, okay. It's starting to get there.
Yeah.
It still is not what I would consider to be field clean.
Not acceptable.
Yeah, but I'm tired of burning up patches.
Yeah.
Okay, so
what's the moral of the story, Jake?
Well, hang on, I have to compose myself because I'm all bent out of shape for even having to do this. The moral of the story is that lead makes dirty powder. Not just dirty powder, but absolutely filthy powder. And this is what lead does to your gun and to my attitude. So let's go look at the target. So we recovered a couple of patches from downrange. Now you could see which one was using which powder. You could just tell by looking. That is the lead, that is the brass. Pretty significant. Hey, look!
Well, hey,
that's pretty damn good, right?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Even if it is junk-ass lead media. Now, keep in mind, we're only about, 40 yards here, and I'm shooting offhand.
It's 42.
So, if you really wanted to get, wiggy, you could go out to 100 and bench rest it and all that stuff. I'm not saying that you can't get decent performance out of lead. Because this is what we came to this conclusion some years ago, is you could make fast, decent performing, good shooting, and even consistent powder. The trouble is, it is filthy.
Yep.
It is filthy. The overall performance, I really can't complain. It's reasonably powerful. It has a decent consistency, and it seems to shoot pretty good. But it is absolutely filthy. Please extract my nitrate back out of the junk powder, please.
Yeah, no problem.
Thank you. Jeez. Yuck. So that is why you guys are constantly hearing me criticize lead media. It makes dirty black powder. Again, you could use a really hard lead alloy, and I imagine it would be better, but you're still going to get lead contaminant in your powder. As far as how it performed accuracy and velocity, not too bad, really. In the Remington, our lead powder averaged 839.9. I think you could round up and call that 840. Where our brass powder averaged 940. Spreads are practically the same, so 100 feet per second slower with the lead, which I have a theory on, and I'll get to that in a second. In the rifle, our lead powder averaged 1797 with a max spread of 57, where our brass powder averaged 1831 with a max spread of 39. If I had to take a guess, and you'll never hear me use the phrase over milling except for right here, where brass. Hi there, this is Jake from the editing department. I have to make a correction here. You just heard me say brass, and I meant to say lead. At this particular point in the video, I'm discussing how lead is a very efficient milling media. So again, not brass, lead. Is a very efficient milling media because it's so dense and it's so heavy. You don't need to mill it for 48 hours. In fact, we probably started losing performance because we milled it for 48 hours. And the longer you're going to mill it, the more lead contaminant you're going to get it. So I don't want to use the word over milled, but it's not necessary. You will reach a point of diminishing return with any ball mill and any media, where lately we've been able to cut our mill time in half with our bigger mill. We only have to mill stuff for 24 hours to get the same mid 18s in the rifle. But being that lead is a much more efficient milling media because it's more dense, we could probably get that 1800 mark in around 24 hours. But just for apples to apples comparison, that's why we ran them both for 48. So I think because we ran it so much, it's just really, really contaminated. But again, even if you mill it for 12 or 24 hours, you're still getting lead in your powder. This is the nature of ball mills. There's just no getting around it. Are we going to get brass contaminant in our powder using brass? Yeah, absolutely. There's really no way around that. But because two reasons. One, it's so much harder than the lead, it's not nearly as bad. Two, the zinc and copper don't melt when you fire it because the melting point of those two components are triple or something what lead is. And it doesn't react poorly with the solids that are left after or while the powder is burning, where lead does all of those things. So there's just no way of getting around it. The only thing we can really do is to try and manage it. The way we do that is by using brass. Are there other milling medias you could use besides brass? Yeah, there's a few. Again, I don't like using any kind of lead alloy. That is not on my list of things that are possibilities for me, because we have such high standards compared to everybody else. We have tried ceramic media, and ceramic media does work. I've heard of guys using marbles. We've tried marbles too, but with the ceramic, much like the marbles, they are very, very hard, but they're too low a density, so they're not an efficient milling media because they don't weigh enough. The whole purpose of a ball mill is for it to tumble and crash, and if it's too light, it doesn't do a good job of hammering all of your particles together and incorporating it really well. So we prefer brass. Now, even when we took both of these powders out of the mill and lit them off on the floor, we could see how dirty the lead media powder is compared to the brass. The lead, and this is something that we used to notice back in the old days, years ago, is why when you fire is the smoke green? It has a green hue to it. What's that about? Well, turned out that we kept seeing that until we went away from lead. That's the lead particles being burned up and the way it reacts with the powder. It just makes dirty powder. There's no two ways about it. So, as usual, folks, if you thought this video didn't suck, do me a favor and hit the like button. Consider subscribing. And if you did think it sucked, go make your own damn video.